me start with my name. Obviously, I'm Eric Twiggs. That would be helpful. So, yeah, like I said, I'm your procrastination prevention partner, the author of The Discipline of Now, and I'm the host of the 30-Minute Hour podcast. And I help entrepreneurs and executive leaders to ditch their excuses to beat procrastination so they can make more money, get more done, and feel more confident.
Nice intro. So I watched some of your other podcasts, right? And I saw the way you introduced yourself. And in all of them, you talked about I'm your partner at preventing procrastination. And I was so stunned by that, because that was the first time I was hearing such a thing as your partner preventing procrastination. So how does that go? Like that's a first to me. So how could you partner with me to prevent procrastination?
So the key is it's all about awareness. So my book, The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. It's designed to heighten your awareness. So I talk to people all the time that say, Eric, you know what? I always procrastinate. I procrastinate all the time. That's not true. Mm-hmm. I have never met anyone who procrastinates all the time. So most people, it's like I know people who they procrastinate at work, but then when they're at home, they're on point. They get the kids out, they have the meals ready, they get the trash out. They don't procrastinate. And then vice versa. I know people who are on point at work. They're these high level executives, but you have to nag them to take the trash out at home. You know, they put off some of the household tasks. So it's all about awareness. And where I come in is I help you to see your trigger points, to help you to identify what are some of those things that cause you to procrastinate and what can we do to overcome them.
Okay, so last year I was going through a period where I found myself procrastinating all the time since I'm in university. So I found myself procrastinating all the damn time, and I was wondering, like in high school I was good. Like I used to do my work on time, make sure everything is in order, but ever since university started, I just found myself. So you're telling me all I need to do is identify those triggers, but it was the same. It was the same, more like the same space. It's still school. I'm still doing assignments, but what's changed? That was what was going through my mind at that point. So how do you find these triggers? Do you have conversations with these people? How is the process like?
So, I mean, again, I would recommend people to read the book, but I have the conversation with them, and it's like you and I are talking right now. So I would continue to ask you more open-ended questions just to find out. So I work with quite a few college students, and I've done presentations, and I myself at one point was a college student. Sometimes what causes procrastination is there's this focus on the grade. Right. And it becomes a fear thing. Well, what if I don't get an A? And what if my grade point average drops? And what will my parents think? And so you start thinking about all these things, and it creates anxiety. And so what happens is you look for relief from the anxiety. You start putting things off and doing other things that don't have to, and you wait till the last minute. So the key thing is to focus more on the process than you do the outcome. Right. So when I'm working with college students, I work with them to focus on the process. So instead of focusing on, am I going to get an A or not? Let's focus on, okay, how many hours of the day do I need to be reading? Mm-hmm. How many, when do I need to be meeting with my study group? Mm-hmm. And really just focusing on that daily process and let the outcome take care of itself.
That's true, because I found myself overthinking the outcome. Okay. Stressing to the point where I'll get exhausted to even start. So I guess that's one point. Then talking about the book. So you give The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. So I haven't read the book yet, but I'm like, I need this book because I struggle with procrastination at times. And I'm just like, soon I'm going to get that book. So, what are the 12 practical disciplines or principles to overcome procrastination?
So the book is divided into three parts. It's like the cost, the causes, and then the cure. And so in each of those sections, I go through different points. So it's like, for example, one of the causes is fear, right? Fear is big. And like, I can tell you for me, like when I was in college and I've talked to other college students that went through this, so I had a fear that deep down, maybe I wasn't smart enough, or maybe I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did, I created a false winning scenario, meaning that, so if I wait, let's say I wait till the last minute. If I wait till the last minute to study for an exam and I get a B, I can say, hey, man, I waited till the last minute and got a B.
B.
Right. So let's say I wait till the last minute and I get a C minus or a D.
Mm-hmm.
I can let myself off the hook and say, well, you know what? I did wait until the last minute. Hey, I could have gotten a much better grade if I had really studied.
Yeah.
So I've talked to a lot of college students. So that's something to watch out for.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the key thing is to focus on the process. Don't worry about the result is going to be the result. It's so for me, like when I do a professional speaking engagement, people ask me all the time, Eric, do you get nervous? And quite honestly, I don't, because I go through such great lengths to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
So I know when I step on stage, I've done everything I possibly can do to be ready. If
Yeah.
it does, if it doesn't go well, hey, it is what it is. I'll learn from it. But at least I know now. When I am nervous, is if I try to wing it. If I don't prepare, that's when I'm more nervous. So and it's the same concept, but so the book goes through the different like causes like that, and that's the big one is fear that we need to watch out for.
Yeah, fear, anxiety, especially anxiety. I've talked to some friends who don't do things just because they're anxious. But one thing I have been encouraged to do is do it anyway. So even when I was coming to this podcast, I was nervous. I was pretty nervous. And I was just like, okay, we do it anyway. We do it anyway. So, um, in your bio, you talk about being a business coach and consultant. So, how does this play out? Well, your main talks are mainly about procrastination. Do you talk about procrastination to these your business partners or business colleagues? How does it go?
So yeah, so my clients are typically entrepreneurs and executive leaders, and so yeah, procrastination is my foundational topic. But we
Mm-hmm.
get into other things like a lot of times I'm talking about productivity, right? How can you get more done? How can you be more efficient? How can you have more balance even? So we it gets into a lot of different things. We now work with CEOs, we get into employee engagement, and so I'm a certified executive coach. So I'm certified to help people through various business struggles that they have. But time management is such a critical thing. Like how
Mm-hmm.
you use your time and how you prioritize. I mean, that's so you can have two people. Here's what I've noticed, right? You can have
Yeah.
two people, right? You can have person A, they get good results. Then you have person B, they get great results. What I found that in most cases, their level of know-how is similar.
Mm-hmm.
Like they know a lot of the same things, but the difference between the good and the great is that the great, they can get themselves to do certain things whether they feel like it or not.
That's true. That's true. So I guess that's where discipline comes in. The discipline of, okay, so you encourage discipline. When it comes to procrastinating, I think discipline is like one of the greatest uh, topics that connects itself to procrastinating? And how would you encourage people on how do you get discipline? That's the first question. Like, what's the to go to, like 5 steps? Is it like a 5 step, step-by-step process, or it's a know-how, a knowledge? How do you go about it?
Well, I think some people come by it naturally,
Mhm.
depending on your personality type. But I think you can develop it. The big thing when it comes to discipline is clarity, right? And I always say to people, clarity is the starting point of success. So you need to be clear on what it is that you want and what it is that you're pursuing. So, like, for example, like I've had times in my career where I was an executive and I just hated what I was doing. And I would hit the snooze button. You know, the alarm clock would go off. I'm like, oh,
I'm tired.
right. I just can't today. Snooze. So in that instance, I wasn't as disciplined. But once I really gained clarity on what I should be pursuing and then got into the right lane, like now I'm a lot more disciplined because I actually look forward to what I'm about to do. So that's a big key, is really getting clear on why you're doing what you're doing, what it is you're doing, who you are. And I think that's a key stepping point. But you can become, even if it doesn't come naturally to you as far as getting disciplined, you can become more disciplined as you gain clarity. Because I don't care how lazy you think you are, if it's something that you're truly passionate about, you'll find ways to make it happen, and you'll take those steps. Like I talk to people who say that they're lazy and undisciplined, but when it comes to their children, they are on point. They're very disciplined. Why? Because that's an area of passion for them. So that's something to think about.
So that's where self-identity comes in. That's where awareness comes in. Self-awareness comes in, and a lot of people don't really know the importance of self-identity, like knowing yourself inwards, inward out. So how would you, in your discussions with people who come to you for help, how do you highlight the importance of self-awareness, of identity, self-identity?
Identity is critical. So people will say to me, "I am such a procrastinator." Now, so you have to be able to separate a habit from an identity, right? Procrastination is a flexible habit that you can overcome. Who you are is who you are, and you have to be careful because you will act out in accordance to whoever you believe you are. So if you always tell yourself, "I am a procrastinator," you're going to be more likely to procrastinate, right? So whatever comes after "I am" is something that you'll identify with. That becomes a part of your identity. So you really have to be careful, and you have to separate what you do from who you are. That is so important. So what happened? Like I work with business owners who they have a hard time selling the right decision is to sell the business, right? And they're at a point where they're ready to sell a business, they're ready to move on, but they drag their feet because that's their identity, right? So, for example, someone has an automotive repair shop. I'm an automotive shop owner. That's who I am. And it's hard for them to let go of that because they're afraid, like, okay, once I sell this business, now what do I do? So they procrastinate. So you really have to be clear on, you have to separate that's something I help people to do. Separate the identity from the difference. You are not what you do. Who you are is who you are. What you do is something different because what you do can be taken away from you. That's another struggle people deal with. That something happens and they can no longer, I've seen this with professional athletes. Something happens and they get an injury and they can no longer do what they do, but they still call them, so they still say, I'm a professional soccer player. I can't play soccer anymore. What do I do now? Now they get depressed. So I'm glad you're bringing this up because I think this is critical.
I think it's critical too. Is there a point in your life, because you emphasize this topic so much, is there a point in your life where you were a procrastinator?
Oh, absolutely. Like yesterday. Now it's an ongoing struggle. It takes discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean, I think we all write the books that we need to read. um, so for me, I was in college or university. It was my senior year, and I was having this conversation with a good friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Right, his name's Donnell, and he and I were different at the time. I was all about partying, and he was all about his purpose. And he would always tell me I needed to get serious and focus, and I didn't listen to him. And then we didn't talk for a while. But then I got a phone call one day from his mother telling me that he was killed in a car accident. Changed everything for me, right? Sent me a message that maybe I don't have the time that I think to do the things that I want to do. And that's when I started really focusing on overcoming procrastination. But as a college student, I'd wait till the last minute all the time. And yeah, I'd be waiting for the last minute on a test, and then I start telling myself, "Oh yeah, I work better under pressure."
That's the thing about college students. Oh, I say I work better under pressure. I'll do it. I got this covered. I got this covered. But speaking of your friend, my condolences. Well, that was a huge shift for you. That was like life changing. It touched a part of you that I think we see. You have seen how you have evolved from that point till today. And I think a lot of people wait until that moment, that breakdown, that ditch the whole to say, okay, the realization comes, okay, this is not my life. This is not what I need to do. I need to go this direction. I need to go this direction. But how, for me, I'm a college student, as you said. How do I prevent that from happening? Like just waiting for the bad moment to realize, okay, snap out of it. Step out of it. You need to start going the right direction now.
Great question. So again, it goes back to being clear. Try to get clear on what it is that you really want to do. And the thing is, it's okay if you don't really know right now.
Mm-hmm.
But really, the key is getting on the path. And I would say if there's something that you think you want to do, it's good to spend time with people that are doing it already and get the real story. Like if you think you want to be an architect, I have a lot of friends in this scenario. They at one point they thought they wanted to be an architect until they spent time around architects who didn't really love what they were doing. So I mean, you really want to. I think if you can get clear, that really that helps, and just and understand the fact that time is short.
Mm-hmm.
And so like with my friend, he was in a single car accident.
Mm-hmm.
And he was probably the cleanest living person I knew at the time. Wouldn't drink, wouldn't eat red meat, just very clean living person. It was just a random thing. And so the message is, I mean, you don't have to even have like a personal tragedy happen to you. You just look around. I mean, we're coming out of a pandemic. There are people that, we knew before the pandemic that are no longer with us. I mean, time is short. So you just have to really understand that time is short. You have to make the most out of the opportunities that you have.
That's true. You talk about purpose so much, and a lot of people struggle with the topic of purpose. People just say, okay, I'm just here, I'm living my life, doing what I need to do, go to work, come back miserable. But when do you just know that that I'm going in the right direction? Is it just a light bulb to say, this is my purpose? I'm going in the right direction. How do you know? How do you come to the awareness of your purpose?
Yeah, that's it. Takes for some now. I know some people who they just know early, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just know. Like I have people I went to college with. They know, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a lawyer. They just know this is what I really feel passionate about, and they can align their decisions. Now, I mean, for the rest of us, it may take some level of trial and error, but the key is passion, right? The key is, especially if you're talking about something vocational, you know if it's something that you would just do for free, that's a good sign. If every job paid the same, you would do that. You would, even if you weren't getting paid, that's a sign. And then it's something. If it's a lot of work to the people that look at you from the outside, but for you, it's not. It's just like, this is just what I like. Like for me, podcasting, it's like that. People are, Eric, how do you do so many podcast episodes? And oh my gosh, and then, to me, I can do it for free. I genuinely love it, and I feel like that's a part of why I was put here on this planet. Speak to people on podcasts and to do my podcast. So I think that's one indication that it's something that you would just do for free. You could just do it all day, every day. And so a couple of things I would pay attention to. I would pay attention to struggles and challenges that you've overcome, right? A lot of times, so I know people who went through terrible divorces, and now they talk to people who've been through divorces and help them to get through, and they feel passionate about that particular topic. Or they were abused as a child, so now they work to make sure that doesn't happen to other children. So you have to pay attention to that. So just like a lot of times it's trial and error, but and the other thing you could do is project yourself out in the future, right? And I have exercises in the book. So even if you say start with 5 years, it's 5 years from now, and you're saying, you know what, this has been the best 5 years I've ever had. Why would you say that? Oh, wow, because my podcast is number one, or I wrote a best-selling book, or my business just hit the $1 million mark. What are those specific things? That give you some indication of what it is that you really want to accomplish.
So passion. The topic of passion goes like a long way, because someone might be listening to this podcast and say, okay, the person has a job, right? But then he says, okay, I think I'm into something else, like maybe music. Let's take, for example, music. And he has a job maybe as a teacher or something. Then he listens to this podcast right now, and yes, talking about passion. Follow your passion, and he drops everything to do with teaching and goes straight music. Starts producing his music. Now, how do you advise such a person? Should he just throw everything he's worked hard for and go straight to what he's passionate about? How does he go forward from there?
No, I would not recommend. I wouldn't recommend that at all. Now I know of people who have done that and ended up successful, but I would recommend getting in the hallway, right? So you don't have to abandon your full-time thing to focus on most people aren't in a position where they can do that without suffering major consequences. So what I would recommend is, can you do it on the side? Can you nights and weekends? Can you play your music? And sometimes when you do it on the side, you may discover that, you know what, I don't know if I could do this full time.
Yeah.
I would explore it on the side, and then just see. I mean, that's what once I discovered that I had a passion for public speaking, and I felt like that was part of my purpose. I didn't just abandon everything and just hit the road and start speaking to people. Because I joined Toastmasters International, which is a speaking group where they help you to develop your speaking and
Toastmasters.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, I recommend it to everybody. I think it's the greatest thing. But that got me experience and practice, and I competed in competitions. And then, I joined the National Speakers Association and networked with quite a few other professional speakers. And so I would do it, on the side for a while. But that's what I would recommend is, do it on the side before you just jump out there and then find out that you don't really like it, or it's not something that's financially sustaining.
That's true. So you talk about Toastmasters. I was planning on going to for lessons there as well. So I think it's a confirmation. Okay. You talk about, okay, so step by step, not really moving out. So you talk about your podcast. You're really passionate about your podcast. The name is 30 minute hour podcast. Am I right?
30
um,
hour.
yeah. So, what are your main discussions? Is it only about procrastination, business? What topics do you mostly talk about there?
So it's a personal development podcast. It's for entrepreneurs who are looking to level up and become unstoppable. So we discuss personal development related things like overcoming procrastination. We talk about from time to time. We talk about selling. We talk about what's the mindset you need to succeed as an entrepreneur. We talk about overcoming. We have somebody to come in and talk about overcoming depression. So it's really about personal development. I have a co-host. He's one of my business partners. His name is Ted Fells. We bring a lot of humor. We make jokes with each other. We make jokes with the guests. But at the same time, we want people to leave with specific actions and nuggets that they can implement back in their business.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, you talk about when we were talking about leaving your job, right? So who was Mr. Eric before he went into podcast, before he wrote his book, before he was um, a business coach, a consultant, before he was a procrastination prevention partner? Who were you before then?
So I was a district manager in the automotive service field. So I had 17 locations. I had 500 employees. And the funny thing is, we were winning these awards. If you looked at me, you'd have said, "Oh, wow, yeah, he's successful." Okay. And I remember I'm driving in my car, I had my nice little BMW, and everything's going great. And I remember this day, I looked in my rear view mirror and I saw my eyes, and they were the eyes of someone who hated what he was doing.
Wow.
Literally, I was hitting the snooze button. I remember I would wake up sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning and just not be able to get back to sleep just because of all the anxiety and dealing with, thinking all the stuff through my head that I had to deal with the following day. And I felt like I was successful, but I didn't feel like I was significant.
Wow. That statement, you felt you were successful but not significant. Wow, that touched my soul right there. So that's a whole process from you were successful in the eyes of other people, but within yourself, you knew there was something missing.
Yes, there's something else I should be doing. And so that set me off on a journey to really figure out what was it that I really wanted to do. And then it just kept coming back to public speaking. And I kept thinking that when I went and looked back over the jobs where I really felt fulfilled, it was like there was a time when I was a corporate trainer and I would go do presentations, and I loved that. Like I could just do that all the time. And it always came back to professional speaking. And so finally, after 3 years of procrastination, I joined Toastmasters. About 3 years, yeah.
Okay, and I think I'm learning from you right now. I don't think I'll ever procrastinate because I have a whole list of what I want to do, what I want to achieve, and speaking to you right now about procrastination, listening to what you said about your life, your experiences. Wow, it's just like a light bulb to say, Natasha, you have to put your head in the game. Don't wait. Put your head in the game. But the problem again would be, when you get so motivated, you're ready to go, like fired up, engine ready, and then you're on the right track. Then one day you're just like, no, not today. And you just shut down like, it's not for me. Today I just want to lay back. I can't go on. How would you reboost? Do you go back? How would you reboost yourself?
So I think you have to make recovery a big part of your strategy, right? I think the key is just not just going. You know, you have to be as active with like rest and taking breaks and meditating, eating right, making sure you get enough sleep, exercise. All of those things can keep you from feeling that crash and get to the point where you feel like you're just burnt out on what you do, because it's all about that whole recovery system.
Yeah, because people find themselves just going and going without really recovering. And I've seen the importance of recovery, because I remember going into fatigue, like emotional, mental fatigue. And that's where, I guess, that's where the problem comes in. So thank you so much for coming to this podcast. I really enjoyed my time with you. I hope you enjoyed your time here, and I hope you have expressed yourself to the fullest, especially concerning your book. How can people get your book? Because I want to get mine as soon as possible.
So the book is The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles. I may even have a copy of it. Hang on.
Okay.
There you go. You can see this. The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. It's in paperback form. You can also get it in audio, and it's an ebook format. So you can go to my website, ericmtwiggs.com, and pick up your copy. And don't forget to check out the 30-minute hour podcast. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of those places that you like to consume podcast content.
Great. Can they find you? What other platforms can they find you on?
Okay, so I am on Instagram, Eric M Twiggs. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. Same thing, Eric M Twiggs. Check me out on Twitter. I'm The Discipline of Now.
So thank you so much, Mr. Eric Twiggs, for coming to this podcast. I really hope I have learned a lot, extremely. And on the procrastination, I'm getting the book, start doing my study, and start resolving the issues within.
Absolutely. It's been an honor.
It's been an honor being in the presence of greatness. Honor. Thank you so much, Mr. Twiggs.
Thank you.
Bye.